We have a multi-billion-dollar real estate company with around 10,000 apartment units, one of which that I'm at right now. I'm going to show you a behind-the-scenes walkthrough that no one else on the internet is going to show you. If you can understand what we're about ready to go over, you're going to be ahead of 99% of all real estate investors. So here we are today at Silverbell Gateway. It's a beautiful 300-unit project that we built from scratch. I'm going to let the guru here talk about how we acquired the land, built the property, and right now we're at 75% leased up, but more on that later.
First of all, so this was a property that we had our eye on for well over 3 years. It was a very difficult site to develop because it was in a floodplain, which required us to do a tremendous amount of work to get it out of the floodplain. And of course, all the stuff leading up to that in terms of design and getting entitlements and getting through the FEMA process and all that. I think we began all that in about 2017. Working with the landowner, we had the land tied up. First of all, our goal is to not buy land unless we have to, until we can actually use it. We tied this land up with the seller for well over 3 years before we were able to close it after we got all the entitlements. It's 300 units. It is 3 stories. It's located in northwest Tucson, actually in Meure. Meure has lots of advantages in this area in terms of being one of the top school districts, providing our customers the ability to get just about anywhere in town and certainly to the major employment centers, including downtown, U of A, Raytheon, and the airport area. The residential is all pretty new. The area is well less than 20 years old. The average house price is over $400,000. We just thought it was an ideal site for all those reasons. Total development costs are $40 million.
So this deal was about $60 million?
$60 million total.
Yep, 20 in equity, 40 in debt. And that's construction debt, by the way.
Yeah.
That's expensive. So construction debt is floating because there's no collateral except the land, so it's expensive.
And in construction loans are dispersed during the construction, so you get a commitment from the bank to fund your total construction costs, and as you progress, they fund it based on a percentage of completion.
And while we were building it, as you can see over here, was our little friend Amazon. They took all our construction guys. I guess Amazon has a little more pull than we did.
Yeah.
This property took what, how long, a year and a half?
So let me think about that. It took from March of 21 until we opened in July of 23. And
so it took a little over 2 years. That was during the pandemic.
Right.
So one of the things that slowed this project down was the pandemic. So
yeah, we suffered from going through the FEMA process and getting approvals, and then also the pandemic, all the supply chain and labor shortages that occurred.
Well, the strategy is always the same, Josh. Every single time. You buy the land, design it, raise the money, get the loan, build it, and then try to return as much capital as you can to the investor. Every time, hold the property, cash flow for a long time. And properties like this are nice because they don't have a lot of capital expense in the first few years, first 5 years really. In other words, some of the older properties, you know, a parking lot, a paint job, a roof, that stuff adds up. So when you build new, people invest at wholesale, and then when you're done, it's at retail. So like the wholesale price on this is 60, let's say 60 million, but it's worth 85 to 90 today. And so the investors get that value built in. But on the negative side, there's no cash flow. Land doesn't cash flow. Until there's actually built and there's people in the units, that's when it cash flows. So that's why you need a good construction team and a good management team.
This is about meeting demand. We just can't build a project where there's no demand. So we're responding to what we feel like is a pent-up demand for quality apartment living. In this particular area, as we talked about earlier, there's a huge amount of amenities in here, but nobody's built a property since 1996. A big demand for rental, but there's no product. What we've done here is basically in response to that demand. Now, what we get out of it is a good long-term cash flowing investment, and being vertically integrated gives us the ability to control the process from soup to nuts. We'd be buying the land, doing the due diligence on it, being able to do a design and work with professionals so it just makes sense, getting the entitlements, having control over the construction process. We believe in a long-term investment strategy. We are very tuned into quality of the product.
It's important to say that the reason we build this, a lot of times you'll see people build things and and sell them off. But the goal for us, this is where we want our retirement money.
Right.
And a lot of our investors, that's what they want. They want to have it here. And of course, the greatest thing about property like this is that the tenants, if we manage it well, they pay all the expenses, they pay all the debt, so they pay off the loan, and they pay for the cash flow that the investors get. So the risk is the investors that they invest is that it's not managed well, the construction is too high, and things don't work the way we think. That's the risk. But the reward is if we're able to stabilize it and get it to cash flow, then the investor wins.
And because of our vertical integration, when problems come up, we have the flexibility and the knowledge and the resources to solve them.
How long did that take to develop?
Forever. It seems like forever.
40-something years, not counting tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, what happens is when we see some of these newbies, then they try to outsource everything. They outsource management. They outsource even capital raising. They outsource the development. They outsource the general contracting. The problem is they walk onto a property like this and they don't even know what to look for because they haven't experienced it. What we've done is we've slowly integrated everything into a vertical into our whole company. We like controlling the process because we know how to do it.
So you can see from this wash right here, or this improvement, that this is a very significant flood control improvement that we had to do here. And the first time I drove by this site, I looked at it and I looked out and I said, gosh, this is beautiful. This is 20 acres of flat land and I can build apartments here and it should be easy. We talked to the seller and we started doing some due diligence, and I hired an engineering company to do a feasibility study. And they determined that, one, the property was in the floodplain, and two, that there would be a significant amount of improvement put into the property. To give you an example, people were paying anywhere from $18,000 to $20,000 a unit for land. I paid $8,800 a unit.
Which is a bargain.
Or $2.5 million worth of improvements, which I had identified up front. $2.5 million divided by 300 units is about 60-something hundred a unit. So when you put that with $8,000, that's $14,000 a unit in usable land costs. So that's still less than buying a site that's shovel ready. Because of our experience, we were able to identify that. I'm no engineer, but I know who to call to understand this.
That's the question you answered, is where do people go wrong? It's right here. They buy the land for what the broker sells it for, and then they realize this $4 or $5 million change order adds or takes away from the profitability of the project.
The other part of that is there is a process that you have to do to go through the FEMA to get it out of the flood, to get it approved, which takes damn near 2 years. So I told the seller, I'll buy the property in 2 years when you get the plan approved. That's why we were in this thing for close to 3 years before we had to buy it.
So back to the original comment that Ross talked about that might have just skirted some people, is we wouldn't actually close on this property till we know all of those things.
We know everything.
In other words, we know exactly what we're gonna get and all the details have been done. And a lot of people buy first and then figure it out later, but things like this take away from profit.
What can go wrong?
Yeah, everything.
Here's what I know, my experience in this business, it takes 1 minute for it to go wrong and it takes 1 year to fix it. We try and avoid, we do everything we can to figure out where all our hurdles were and all our problems could come from. We try and anticipate it.
I would say on the average, I don't know, I've never really thought about this too much, but for probably every 100 deals we look at, we probably do 1 or less, right?
Right.
So most of our time is finding stuff like this, negotiating with the seller, says, I'm not gonna sell it to you for that price, and then you just move on. Most of the time is no. Almost most of the time, most of the deals, most of the land, there's so many no's every day, right?
Right. And then there'll be a developer that comes in and after we say no, which is fine. I mean, luckily we're not the only game in town, but we're looking for, again, long-term hold our investors' money every quarter, just like clockwork, and not have any hassles.
I think what happens is you learn more and you actually become a little more cynical about what you find, because just like anything, it's wisdom. So you start to learn more and more and more as there's more no's. And even when you buy projects, you find stuff out and all of a sudden it's more things that you see. So now when we're looking at stuff, we probably have a tendency to shoot more down than to do. That's exactly what we do. So when we actually decide to do something, we both look at each other and go, what did we miss? Like, right?
Right.
Because there are things that come up and you just want to make sure you have all that done before you bring people's money into it and you're housing their funds. You have to deliver on what you say.
I mean, we were in our 40s when we started this business. Now we're in our 60s and 70s. And I would say that that philosophy has really not changed very much. We've never been burn and turn guys. What we want to do is provide a quality investment to our investors and a quality product to our residents.
And they trust us, so that can easily be violated if we don't do our homework.
We're smarter, certainly. We don't have to do another thing if we don't want to, but it's fun.
Because of our philosophy has never changed for the investor, obviously, when we started seeing prices go up, we started seeing people paying crazy numbers, we backed away. So in the last few years, Ross and I haven't really done much. And which is frustrating, and not just to us, but to our whole staff. Our whole staff was buying buildings, building buildings, but we pushed pause, which is hard to do when a company can buy pretty much anything or invest in anything. That's what we did though. The reason we did it is because you can see little things in deals that people stretch to do. So for example, when there's not a ton of competition, obviously as a buyer, you can negotiate.
Right.
When there's a lot of competition, then the seller now is in a powerful position. And that's when you start to see short due diligence times. That's when you start to see people closing on things before they actually get a chance to really look at it. That's when you start to see $1 million non-refundable on day one before they even step on the project. We saw a lot of that. A lot of people lost a lot of money.
I don't know how many offers we made on potential acquisitions that we would get beat out by 10 or 15%, which on the stuff we look at is $3, $4, $5 million.
Yeah. By the way, obviously we've been doing it a while. We have very smart analysts and underwriting. Ross and I are looking at all the deals, and we would offer, let's say 30 million and somebody would offer 35. And you're like, okay, pass. I would say we did that on hundreds of projects in the last 2 years.
It's one of the reasons we started focusing on development and construction.
Yep.
Because one, there's just a tremendous amount of demand for apartment. Demand is really not an issue. And if prices get bid up to the point where construction becomes more economical, purchasing a property, I mean, we're in this for $60 million. If we had to buy it today, it'd be $85 million.
When we broke ground on this property, a property that was maybe 20 years old was selling for about the same price.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can buy something 20 years old for 200,000, or you could build something brand new, Class A like this for 200,000 a unit. At times it becomes economically feasible to build. At times it doesn't. That's why we're actually doing that right now, because prices are up, and as they continue to go up, then it made sense for us to be able to deliver properties like this. So why are we buying $1 billion worth of property in the next 18 months?
The reason is because continual demand for apartment. Because of that, there are returns you can make off the projects if you watch your costs and if you watch your purchase strategy. We're seeing projects that are where the reproduction cost would be $350, $325, $350 a unit. We just bought one in Las Vegas for $260 a unit.
Which means when we bought the property below replacement cost, we bought a property like this where the developer was actually in trouble, and we basically bought it for the loan. It's very similar to this property, and it's in Las Vegas. And so now, instead of going through all that construction and development, we were able to buy it finished, take advantage of a property that was full, and then manage it better. So the property we just bought in Las Vegas 2 years ago was appraised at 142 million because one of the partners bought out another partner. We just closed on it at 92 million. What we basically did was we bought it for the debt, or what it cost to build. That obviously is, we fast forward the whole process. Now we buy a brand new, beautiful Class A property that's almost stabilized and almost full, and we can bring our management team in there and make it even better.
Seeing a lot of distress everywhere, the Southwest and in Texas.
Yeah, and the reason we're seeing that are multiple reasons. One is interest rates, as we all know, have gone up a lot. Now they're starting to come down a little, which is good, but also a lot of people that raised a bunch of money and a lot of people that got into the space don't know how to manage these buildings. So all they've done is put together investment groups and went and bought stuff, but they don't even know what to do when they step on the project. The lenders are now taking some of those properties back, and those are the properties that we're looking at.
And our development strategy also keyed on demand, because even though there is a oversupply in many markets, that supply, because of the demand, is going to get eaten up in the next 2 years, and our projects are going to hit the market 2 years from now, which we believe is going to be at the peak.
Right. So people build when interest rates are low, and that started about 2 years ago, like this project. It's a great example, and you'll see more today. Those dropped off a cliff. The supply dropped off a cliff. When you start to see construction interest go up over 9%, people just stop building, because obviously they can't build at 9%. Should a new developer or should a new investor do this? The answer is no. They won't do it well, period. There's just too much wisdom and too many things and too many curveballs every single day, many a day, that happen on this project, from financing to equity to debt to construction to development to governmental things. And unless you know how, you can't navigate it, right?
Yeah. We have a 30-plus year relationship with our construction lender. We have 30-plus year relationship with our subcontractors and general contractor. We have 23-year relationship with our investors. All this took a long time to build.
Plus the young lady that's leasing up this property, Patsy, she's been with us for 12 years, leasing up properties. We have lease up teams. Everything's specialized and everything has come from pain and failure and mistakes. And so what you do, just like any business, is you fine tune those things and you try to get better each project. So that's why a newbie will get slaughtered if they try to pull something off like this.
Our ultimate objective is to get our permanent financing in place, a fixed long-term rate that is sustainable, which was currently we expect to be in the right around 5.1. Own the property and generate cash flow, which we believe will generate approximately an 8% return initially to our investors once this loan's approved.
And when we put that debt on by the end of the year, traditional cash out refi, it'll pay investors a lot of money that they weren't able to receive during construction because, of course, when you're building something, there's no cash flow. We're able to pay all that back at the end of the year to the investors that got us here.
And in 5 years, reevaluate it and look and see where we are in the market and make another capital decision then.
Yeah, and if rates go down in the next 5 years, we might even do it before then. So it just depends. A lot of it depends on the rates. For sure, we're sitting on a really good valuation, at least 30 million in equity at the moment. It's like all our properties.
The alternative is to sell the property, get the 30 million bucks and pay a bunch of tax on it. We can continue to pay cash on cash return of 8 to 9 or 10% as the rents grow, and decide at some point when it makes sense to do something different.
So imagine after all that nonsense of everything that we just went over, we now have 8 or 9% cash on cash. We got 30 million in equity. To sell would be ridiculous because you would have the money, you would pay tax, you would actually be trying to be able to replicate that kind of return. So you keep it here. That's kind of the whole point. This is what a lot of developers don't do. Unfortunately, they look at that equity and they want it. So what they do is they sell and then they have to do it again. That only works if the market works with you. And so it doesn't always work.
Hence the Las Vegas deal where they missed the market.
The game is 100% to use other people's money, including ours, invest in something like this, get the cash flow at 8 or 9%, a lot of times tax free or tax deferred because of depreciation. Why would you sell something like that only to stick it in a bank account or with a wealth manager or something like that? We would rather have it in a project like this. And as long as we can manage this property, then keep the occupancy high. Like I said the other day, we're managing our own money. Today, we're at one of our 300 unit properties that we just developed and built. We bought the land in 2020 for $3 million. We spent about $60 million to build it, and today it's worth about $90 million. And we're going to show you exactly how we did this, and we're going to show you why most beginners would get their butts handed to them if they tried it themselves. If you're an investor and want to look at this deal or any other business plan that we're talking about, click here. We're in the main clubhouse with Patsy. Say hi.
Hi.
So the first thing that we're really proud of is our Sharing the Good Life Foundation.
This is how we came up with Science at all our community. It's Sharing the Good Life. We, as a company, contribute to certain organizations. Also, employees are able to participate in that as well.
This is our foundation. We want to be part of the community. And so we display it in every clubhouse at every property we have.
This is our club room. Residents are able to rent this out if they wanted to have any kind of a private party.
So we have a lot of functions in here.
Yes,
right?
We have all types of functions. Halloween is coming up. We're gonna have a trunk or treat out in our parking lot.
So one of the things you do when you have a lot of people living in one spot is you bring them all together and buy food for them, and then it creates community and it keeps them here long term.
Very much.
Yeah, so it works.
Our gym is in here. This is open 24 hours.
How do you like this, Josh? Little TRX, huh? Come on, let's do it. Yeah, I love these TRXs. This is a typical fitness that we have in every property. One of the things that obviously people can forego is a monthly fitness membership at a local gym, and they can just work out here. So this is a big piece of renting and then also retention, because people can save 50 to 100 bucks a month by using this gym.
Here's our pool, nice size pool. You can do lap, hot tub. It is heated during the winter time. It's open 24 hours for everybody to use. After hours, they could enjoy the hot tub.
So we have a lot of parties out here too.
Yes.
Yeah, so people love this. It's a little hot today, but not for the use of the pool. One of the things that you also just to be mindful of is landscaping is a big cost. No turf, actually believe it or not. Cuts down costs a lot. So this is what we call xeriscape. It's nice. It has lots of bushes, but it's rocks. And you don't have to have mow crews and everything in here. And it cuts way down on your monthly operating costs. You know, just mowing and blowing and the cutting and all that stuff adds a lot of cost. On a property like this, it would be $40,000, $50,000 a year just for landscaping.
This is the largest of our 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's 15 square feet. Runs from 1815 to 1850.
So a couple design features here in our properties. One is we like to do this kind of flooring. It's hardscape flooring instead of a lot of carpet because it can be really expensive and people trash carpet. The other thing is we remove the cabinets that are here. A lot of times you'll have cabinets here and this will just be a flat open workspace with an area to work on your computer here. And then of course each property has a washer and dryer. Very common now these days for Class A. And the rents on this property are
$1815 to $1850
for this for this unit.
Depending on floor plan.
Ross, what are some things in this unit from a construction standpoint, like obviously the blinds and just little things?
First of all, in the last 5 years, the quality of apartments has increased dramatically in general in the market and certainly in our projects. First of all, starting with this kitchen, going to 42-inch cabinets in the uppers instead of 36. We're now doing an undermount sink. This is a granite top, so it's either granite or quartz or some hard surface. The upgraded appliance package, of course, full-size washer and dryer. Some of the things that are improved, all the lighting fixtures are improved. There's LED in the kitchen fixtures.
The huge walk-in closets that we have in here.
The roller shades.
Yes.
Which instead of plastic vertical or mini blind, we're now using these roller shades, which is like an 85% blackout. You mentioned the floor, which cuts down on maintenance. All this really helps increase retention and cut down on maintenance because if we don't have Formica, it doesn't get scratched. That's much harder to damage the surface. We have a glass top range, full-size microwave built in. I'd like to tell you that we were trendsetters. A lot of this is in response to competition. And be able to get this quality of floor now that you didn't get in 1995. We've been able to take advantage of those kinds of things. And you'll notice the big open floor plan, which is also a design feature that's fairly new, 9-foot ceilings.
It all boils down to turnover costs. So people move out. And when they move out, there's a cost to get it back to ready. And so you start to learn that you could actually put in better product so that your turnover costs are less.
It's also a person's home. So you want it to be as comfortable and as pleasing a place to be as possible. When you adapt features such as 9-foot ceiling, which is obviously makes the place look bigger and much more open. We have an open floor plan so people aren't shut off. Flow of community and from the kitchen to the dining room to the living room. It's all done with a whole lot of thought in mind.
Also, the amount of windows. The exterior of natural light is huge. Take a look at the wall there. You've got basically the whole thing is open light from the outside. And that's huge because there's a lot of apartments that you'll find are very dark.
Well, this property costs $200,000 a unit, all in. That's from the dirt to the final landscape.
60,000 divided by 300 is 200.
Yeah.
So now it's probably worth 85 to 90. I would say it's probably worth 300,000. Yeah.
And current costs are going to be in 250 a unit range. If you're going to replace it, it would be 250 to 275.
So that's how much costs have gone up since we started building this property. So this property today, if we were to build it, would be 250 a unit. This one was built for 200,000.
Pandemic. John's director of construction for MC Company. He has been the person who gets the job done around here. I'll let John talk a little bit about some of the construction challenges we had and sort of the process that we went through.
The biggest holdup we had was an ordinance in the town of Marana that prevented us from going vertical with our framing before FEMA had approved our flood control around the site. We ended up in a holding pattern with all the concrete slabs poured for about 4 months. We finally did. So we were able to then take off and go into production and get the schedule going again. But it was a unforeseen circumstance. It was an ordinance that we had never heard of. It came from
exists in no other municipality.
Not another municipality in the state.
So we actually had to get the law changed to keep going
to continue.
on construction.
It did give us an opportunity to, there's a couple of good things that came out of it, and that is we were able to pave early which means that there's no chance of flooding the sites around the building. All the flood controls in place, so all the water is draining properly. We got plenty of parking, we got plenty of storage area. It makes it nice and safe for everybody. And when it's raining every place else and we have buildings we can work in, and other sites don't have their paving down where they're shut down for the day and they can't get in, we get all the subcontractors over here working on our site. So we tried to take advantage of it the best we could and get as many people out here as we could when we did have some rain, which was another thing that held us up during the year. We had an unusually wet year, quite a bit of flooding.
So I think in our business plan, which in our investor portal, I think our original construction term was 24 months, ended up being right about 26. So even though we lost 4 months in the process, we were able to make up 2 months in the way John was able to manage the job and restate it after that.
So let's talk about the pandemic itself, the shutdown, the supply.
Okay.
You were right in the middle of this project.
We were. We knew we had an issue and we were getting on the bandwagon early order and everything we could think of. We were just pouring concrete and we were talking about appliances, toilet paper holders and towel bars. And, you know, we were discussing every little piece, including cabinets and everything else. I mean, just about everything we use inside the apartments, especially when it comes to light fixtures, are either from China, Japan, or Vietnam. Countertops, mostly from Vietnam and Korea. There's this huge flow of material coming into the United States that when a port shuts down, like, we're stuck. We were trying to get everything in as early as we possibly could. Fortunately, as we got to that point on the job, things were starting to pick back up again and things were opening up again, so it was good. And we did the same thing at Arroyo Verde. Arroyo Verde, we were really cautious and we're still having problems with appliances right at the moment. We want to final the last building, it's ready to go, and we can't get like 6 or 8 refrigerators from GE. And so it's holding up that last C of O, and we're supposed to get them on the 15th of October, which is 15 days later than we're supposed to have that C of O. That's the whole thing has been trickled down, and now we're a little worried again because of the dock strike, because a lot of our stuff comes through those docks. Light fixtures and hardware, and I mean, you name it, there's a good portion of it that comes from overseas.
I remember talking to you about the Amazon project.
Oh yeah.
So
you know, we started our project and we had no idea that they were going to be out there. Suddenly, we were going to rent a piece of property to store all our equipment on and everything, and all of a sudden the owner came to us and he said, I sold it, you can't use the property. He wouldn't tell us who, and then of course it finally came out that it was Amazon, and that's big, big money, and money talks, like they say. They robbed us of concrete pours where we'd schedule our concrete pours 2 weeks ahead of time, and then it would come, you know, 3 days before we were going to pour concrete. They're going, no, you guys are off a week. These guys have priority. Well, why do they have priority? They're a national company. They have a national account with us. We have to service them first. We suffered through some of that held us up a little bit, but they built that building in record time. To build it in record time and to actually beat us to the finish line on something we had started months before them was a little disheartening, but unfortunately, it's shuttered. It hasn't opened.
yeah.
There's nothing in it. They can't get the chips for their robots. That's the word on the street right now. All the robotic equipment that goes inside there that handles all the packaging, they can't get the chips.
So we did get a little bit of benefit out of it though, because we did get them to pick up close to $1 million of cost for us. And
Yeah.
How was that? How did they do that?
There's a wash that controls, a concrete wash that controls the flow of water. It goes around both sides of the site. So one side of it's on their property line, which takes them out of the floodplain, and it splits right down the middle of the property line. So they split the cost of that channel with us. We got that nice light out there from them too. They forced them to put that light in, which is nice for our street light.
Yeah.
Traffic light. You know, it's $1 million bucks.
Which
you
is
know.
really good for
Oh,
the
yeah.
property, because when the traffic stops, people look
they have to look at
left
it.
and right.
Exactly.
So our property
Exactly.
now is recipient of that.
It's just a 1,000 feet or so down from our main entrance, and our exit for our tenants, our exit only on the backside of the property, leads right into the light. So they can go right to the light, catch a green arrow, or make a right, whichever they need to do on their way out, which is really convenient for everybody here.
So that's $1 million light and $1 million
Yeah, it was a big windfall for us.
savings for the
Yeah.
wash.
Yep.
Plus they built an improved path that we have access to that takes our residents to what's called the Loop, which is 131 miles of trails that goes all around Tucson without ever being on a street for a bicycle.
So even with all of that, you're only 2 months off of the business plan.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Well, one of them it was a pandemic. It was the archaeological stuff. It was the joint stuff with Amazon. It was the interest rates.
That's the other thing we should chat about. The interest rates shot up while we were building the project. We started in the
Threes.
Yeah.
Construction, and then the Fed, you know, as we all know, raised rates significantly, and Ross and I had to fund that.
Right.
During the middle of the project, it was about $7.5 million.
We had cost overruns related to supply issues.
Yeah. Force majeure.
Forced us to $7.5 million cost overrun, which is the first one in my career.
It's important to address, though, the fact
Yeah.
that, you know, this development and construction is not for the faint of heart.
No.
To your point, you don't have them very often, if ever. But in this one, we did.
I think too, cost overrun was nobody could hold the price. Subs couldn't hold prices. And even though we had a fixed price contract, we really couldn't hold our contractor to it without suing him, and which would shut the job down. And that was the last thing we needed to do. And then we would have had to rebid it and have the cost anyway. Because of our relationship, long-term relationship with National Bank, we went to them and said, look, this is a problem for us. And they funded up to 60% of it, and the general partners funded the rest.
So this is how it works.
It was 52.5, became 60 million.
Yeah, it was 52.5, then it became 60. So when you first break ground on a project and you put it out to the investors and you put it out to the bank, you get your money and your equity. And then if you need more, you have to fund it somehow.
Correct.
That's what happened on this project.
And so were you guys out of pocket on that? How much was that?
$2.5 million.
Ross and I put up $2.5 million, and then the bank put up the other $5 million, which was also good. Not all banks did that, but because of our relationship with National Bank of Arizona, they helped us with an additional $5 million. But the real number was $7.5 million.
So what are your thought processes when you're like, well, I have to put another $2.5 million into this?
It doesn't seem like it. I mean, it's a
Gulp.
drop in the bucket when you're fully
It's
pregnant.
for in it. Yeah.
You have to figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. You just have to figure it out. Clearly, we believe in the project. I mean, the alternative was to say, okay, bank, it's all yours. But obviously, there's huge downside to that for us as a company, but it's also the wrong thing to do. I mean, the right thing to do is to figure out how to solve the problem, protect our investors' capital, and bring this thing home to fruition. Because once it starts leasing, you start getting income, and then everybody's happy. So the other important part of that is our projected rents in 2021 were significantly higher when we incurred the cost overrun. The bank felt like the value of the property was going to be
That's
there.
what saved us, is if you guys all know and remember, our rents were going up at the same time during that period. So yes, costs were going up, but also rents were going up, and the value of real estate was going up. So the bank looked at that and said, okay, we can size this another $5 million, but Ross and I had to put up the other 2.5. Luckily, that happened. That doesn't always happen, but that's what happened in this situation. Sometimes you could just be over budget on construction and the value stays the same. In this particular case, we got both.
This is the first time since I started doing this in 1985 that we've been over budget.
There's all kinds of contingencies and fluff built into projects like this, and you never want to have to blow through them, but in this one, we did.
Subcontractors and the contractors, I think, when the whole pandemic thing hit, fell on some contract language that I think both of us weren't even on. Was it even there, or is it really in there? It's called force majeure. If there's a war, if there's pandemics. Between the pandemic, this force majeure that everybody was talking about because they couldn't, material prices were going up and shipping was more expensive. We got hit with concrete increases in it, which it was wrong because a lot of it was just inflating their prices, I believe. Some of the guys hit us for it, some of them didn't, but it hurt, and it was all part of that overrun.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part of that is $7.5 million only represented a 15% increase in the overall job budget. I agree with John 100%. I'm probably more angry about it than he is because I think many people took advantage of it.
Yeah.
But we were able to hold it into that 10 to 15% range, and I know a lot of people suffered way more increase. If a developer is undercapitalized or doesn't have the financial arrangements like we do, they can't weather that kind of storm.
Happened up there on Oracle Road too, that spot right next to where I got married.
Yeah.
That thing there, they ended up tearing it down.
I think it's important for people to understand that a lot of the subcontractors that come here and build, maybe you can talk about that, also build all over the valley. There's a pulse that you...
We're massaging that to our advantage right now because things have slowed down in Phoenix quite a bit. And so I've got superintendents looking for work, I've got project managers looking for work, and I have subcontractors coming out of the woodwork that 2 years ago said, we're not coming to Tucson. We got so much work up here. What do we want to come to Tucson for? Now they can't wait to get to Tucson. And so we're working it to our advantage on the latest project that we're bidding for ourselves. And we're trying to leverage that into, some really good pricing and good subs too. And I don't really think that the cost is coming down. The subs are tightening their belts, and I think they're lowering percentages. I got a $500,000 worth of mechanical and electrical. It's a combination company. They do both. So it's about $5 million worth of work. Well, right on the bottom of their bid, without having to even negotiate, they put down your 2% that you always ask me to go after.
Yeah.
That if we take both, if they'll use them for both of these trades, they'll take 2% off of the $5 million. We're taking advantage of that. And we're also, we're leveraging that with other subcontractors that do dual work. We're going to do that with our painter drywaller who combines all his stuff. Come on, man. Everybody else is dropping at 2%. Let's see what you got. So these are not new subcontractors to us. These are guys that have been in our stable since before you and I even met.
Well, I think to that point, part of the reason we're able to negotiate the kinds of prices we're able to negotiate is because long-term relationships with subcontractors. And the fact that John is outstanding at building a team, people that know that if we're involved in this project, it's going to go smoothly and it's going to be well managed. That is really the key to getting a decent contract price out of a sub.
It truly is. I had an old boss that used to say proper prior planning prevents poor performance. It was like, the 6 Ps or whatever that adds up to. When I first started making schedules for these projects, Ross would look at him and go, please, just can you roll it up a little bit so I don't have to look at, because when I make a schedule, it's everything that has to happen from the day we start till the day we finish. And the way we build that schedule is from the day we plan on finishing, working backwards to the day we start. And it's the only way to get it right and to really come out on top. And we did it in our first project together at Mountain Point, and it worked really well. We did it at Savannah Springs, and it worked really well. The clubhouse was late. I caught hell for that. But the rest of the project finished ahead of schedule and under budget. The clubhouse was late. And we're always striving for what's going to help the company the most. And the biggest deal is that the contractors that we were working with, they were like, no, it's impossible. You can't do a building and a clubhouse in 10 months anymore. You just can't do it. I'm like, why not? If we plan it properly, we can get it done in 10 months. They just didn't want to hear it. It's a year. That's the way it goes. Right now, we're working with that year because we're being cautious, because we're working with HUD on one of these projects, and we've got to be right. Now, I can finish ahead of schedule, and I'm okay with that. I finish behind schedule with HUD, I'm in the hot water with them and him. We're being conservative about it, but the day-to-day schedules that we plan out on the job take advantage of every single day we can possibly gain. Ross explained it to me a long time ago. We get the clubhouse in one building, and we start leasing. It totally changes how the project finishes financially, and a big gain when it finishes. That's our goal. And I've even gotten involved in the design of the projects and how the sewer is positioned, how the water is positioned, to try to strategically be able to move forward on these other buildings without being disturbed by what's going on with that other work in the background. When we were here, once we finish the sewer and we get the water in, we can start some slabs. That's the old mindset these guys have. We redesigned the sewer instead of completely surrounding half the site to be on one side of the site, and everything drains in that direction. So we can start working out here while these guys are installing sewer, installing water, and everything in the back. We're trying to look at our designs ahead of time in order to get ahead with these things. And every day we can gain. It's money in the bank. Close to 5 months or so out since we finished up here. There's always little warranty things here and there, but overall the project's gorgeous, and we're proud of it. But every jurisdiction has a different process. And Town of Marana had some little special things we had to do right at the end, but we passed all their inspections. We passed all their sniff tests. I don't know what you want to call it, but they like the buildings. They like working with us. We'd work out here again in a heartbeat. The head building inspector's a great guy, and we really enjoyed working with him. The town managers, Jason's been really great to us too, and it's been a great experience out here. Even with all the heartache that we had in it, it's been a terrific experience to work with everybody out here. Their water department, TEP, who usually can be somewhat problematic, and especially when Tucson Electric was having a shortage of transformers. We were on them when we heard about it in the very beginning about where's our transformers. They assured us they were in the yard. Well, when we started putting the transformers in, they came one short. But the way they arranged it, we could heat up the whole project without worrying about that one transformer, and it arrived a month late. It didn't affect us. But if we hadn't stayed on top of them, they disappear onto other jobs. The equipment goes elsewhere. And we had to do the same thing at Arroyo Verde, where we had to be on the phone with the engineer from TEP every day about when are the transformers going to be in, when are they going to be in the yard, we're ready to go. Passed all our inspections and everything. And fortunately at Arroyo, it went off like it used to 20 years ago. It came in 3 days in a row. They put in all the transformers, they heated everything up. We started throwing meters on the wall right away. So it was a really decent turnaround from what had been happening, because we were hearing horror stories across the country from one of our inspector would come out here and say, man, you guys are lucky. You got your transformers. We got projects running on generators because we can't get transformers. I'm trying to figure out how they got past the inspection department with these huge generators running these buildings. But that all seems to have calmed down now. There was a nationwide shortage of transformers. They're made overseas. They're dependent on that flow of material.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with this pending dock strike.
Yeah.
And things have settled down. Prices have settled down. There's not so much pressure and demand on subcontractors. So we're really looking forward to sort of getting back to normal after these last couple of years of you just never know where your next storm's coming from. You know, this whole process, we started construction on this in April of 21. We finished in July of 24. At the time we finished, we were well over 50% leased. We're currently at 75% leased, which runs us about 17, 18 units a month, which is on our lease-up budget that we predicted in 2021. We anticipate up to permanent financing, which is 7-year fixed-rate financing, and at around a 60% loan to value, which I think puts the current value of the project somewhere around $85–90 million. We expect to lock it around 5.1 million.
So now I understand that this is going to be overwhelming for most people. I didn't even buy my first 2-bedroom, 2-bath until I was 28 years old. You're never too late to get started. And because of that, I did a video of exactly what I would do if I had to start over today.